Mel Kiper has a mock draft out. It's 3.0 and it's ready to go. What we're going to show you here is his top 10 picks. Cam Ward going number 1 to the Titans. Abdul Carter number 2 to the Browns. Shedeur Sander 3 to the Giants. Travis Hunter 4 to the Patriots. And you can read some of the other names you see on your screen. If this is true, there are 2 things we can focus on. 1, they'll be dancing in the streets of Foxborough. That would be an outstanding way for that to break for the Patriots. And here is the great Mel Kiper Jr. Let's talk about Shedeur to the Giants. You and I talk on the First Draft podcast every week, twice a week now. But for those who aren't part of this conversation all the time, I feel like the discussions around Shedeur Sanders are all over the map, Mel. How do you see him at 3 to the Giants?
That's a great fit, Greeny. I think the pressure, the expectations, the big stage, the bright lights, he's dealt with all that. That's Shedeur Sanders. That's who he is. That's what he's all about. At Jackson State, he was phenomenal. At Colorado, he was outstanding. People say he got too many sacks. Guess what? Over those 2 years, he completed 72% of his passes, 74% this past year. He never had a game less than 60% completion percentage, yet he was harassed. He was under duress all the time. Didn't throw many interceptions at Jackson State or at Colorado. So when you look at what he did there, despite having a poor, horrible offensive line 2 years ago and not a great one this past year, he still lit it up, and he managed a game, and he won this past year at Colorado. So for Shedeur Sanders, I think he's a perfect fit. You got a coach, a GM picking their guy, getting their quarterback with the Giants in a division with Hurts and Prescott and the emerging superstar in Jayden Daniels. You got to close that gap. You got to get right where those teams are, and I think Shedeur Sanders will give them that opportunity.
For people who haven't seen a lot of them and don't follow, live in it day in, day out the way you do, what with Shedeur Sanders, if there's a knock on him, it's the physical traits, right? He's not huge. He's not incredibly fast. But what he is extraordinarily good at the quarterbacking stuff, right? I'm taking all of this directly from you. All the processing, all the reading, all that stuff, that's his superpower.
Yeah, he's got to get a little tick faster in terms of getting the ball out. He can't take sacks in the NFL. You're behind the chains, you're behind the sticks, and you're in those second and long, third and long. It's over. You're giving up drives, and you don't have a lot of drives in the National Football League, right? So you got to make them count. So Shedeur's got to obviously improve in that area, but certainly being able to look at a gun barrel, make throws when you're being pressured, be able to manage a game and not turn it over. He didn't. The interception numbers were low. The accuracy was incredible. And the leadership that he'll bring, this whole notion it's going to be this big circus, it's all about Deion. It was never about Deion. Deion was a great teammate in the NFL and with the Atlanta Braves in Major League Baseball. He didn't bring any of that. Last time I checked, remember, John Elway manipulated the draft. Eli Manning manipulated the draft. Shedeur Sanders, what's he saying? Hey, I just want to come into the NFL and lead a football team. So I think this whole Deion Shedeur stuff is overhyped. It's not accurate. And Shedeur Sanders is all about winning. And he's a tremendous game manager. I think he's a hell of a quarterback.
Deion Sanders was talking about all that and more yesterday. Here's what he said.
We're so darn blessed. We're not stressed. Do you see how I look right now? Do I look stressed? Let me take these glasses off so you can zoom in. Do I look stressed? No, I look blessed, okay? So, I don't know what they expect from my kids. They daddy's sons, man, please. We're used to adversity. We're used to ignorance and adolescence. We're used to that. So if anybody could handle it, I think they can. And I'm a proud father, not for the stuff that you know about. I'm proud for the stuff that you don't know about that they've gotten through. I am.
So, Graziano, I think what he's referring to there were some of the questions that people seem to have about Shedeur Sanders at the Combine, but I'm not 100% certain. Do we know what Deion is referring to, and do we know how significant it is?
I don't know what he's referring to because I wasn't at the press conference.
Right.
But in terms of significance, look, it's draft season, right? You're going to hear criticisms of some of these prospects for the first time because people are diving in and getting to know them on a different level. So quarterback evaluation is extremely subjective. Every single year you have people that will tell you about each of these guys, yeah, he's great, and there are people who will tell you about the same guy, I'm not sold on him for X, Y, Z reason. That happens. So I think some of the negatives get amplified, and I think that's probably what Deion is being asked about.
Tim, you were making interesting points in our meeting this morning about your personal experience with this and having played with Eli Manning and his experience with this, what are you hearing there from Deion?
Yeah, so I like what Deion said. I mean, a couple of things is, his sons have grown up in the spotlight. And as you referenced, look, I was teammates with Eli Manning at the Giants. Like, expectations for him his entire life were sky high. And look, I've joked in the past, I think one of the things that helped make him successful is with Eli, you never knew if he won the lottery or if his dog died. Like, that's how he was. He was so steady all the time. And look, there was a period when he was at the Giants where he was on the back page of all the papers as a bust. But he was able to kind of weather the storm and play through it. And I think Deion is kind of talking about his sons that way, and that expectations for them have been high. And I would just say in terms of, I don't know if we want to call it the sensitivity to the criticism or the evaluation every year. Look, we're on TV talking about it every year. People, who follow the draft are hearing their criticism every year. But when you're a player going through it, you do it once. And so, like, the arrows and the criticisms, it's that one time in your life, and it's usually the first time, where it becomes real for you personally. And so I do think there's always a sensitivity to it for the people that are going through it.
Mel, I have a couple of quick ones for you here. There's a lot of talk about the possibility of the Giants getting Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how likely that, in fact, why don't I ask Graziano? Anything? Have there been any
no movement on that
no
since
signs.
the middle of last week?
Rodgers
Giants and Steelers both want him. They're waiting for him to make a decision.
Would that influence the way you see this, Mel, if they wind up with Rodgers or even Russell Wilson?
No, not at all, because Shedeur Sander certainly is the developmental quarterback. He's the future. Doesn't mean he has to be the guy right away. That whole thing about Jayden Daniels doesn't happen all the time. You're catching lightning in a bottle there. Patrick Mahomes was redshirted his first year in the NFL, basically, so when Alex Smith was the quarterback. So, no, I have no issue at all with that. And I think that's what they would prefer to have. And if Shedeur is able to go in there and be the guy, great. If he's not, you develop him and you wait till year 2, year 3.
And then the second question along those lines is, you and I, because, again, we do the podcast, we talk about this all the time. I feel like there is a suspicion. You've got him going 3. I feel like there are some people who believe we could see Shedeur slide a little bit. What is you talk to people in the NFL every day. What is your sense of that?
They're all over the place on Shedeur Sanders. I mean, your head's spinning there if you talk to people. Some love him. Some say, no, if his name was Shedeur Jones, it'd be a third-round pick. But guess what? I heard that about Peyton Manning, too. And I brought that up to you, Greeny, a lot. I heard a lot about Peyton Manning after his pro day when he had wobbly balls and not having the arm strength and all that. And, again, I talked to Peyton. Peyton was in his house saying, no, I heard all that stuff. I don't have any upside. I don't have this. Don't have any of that. Okay, Bill Polian took him number 1, and you saw what happened. Ryan Leaf, 50% of the league like Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning because he had better